so far so good. Let's power it back off. What the next thing I want to do is to have a look at that mouse. See if we can make this mouse work, because it was not doing a very good job yesterday, was it? Let's just pop that over there and just push the whole circuit board back a little bit. Now, I did look at this mouse when I first got it, just to make sure that it was complete and there wasn't bits missing, as I suspected there might possibly be. Second-hand stuff, quite often you buy it for spares, faulty for spares, and you go to use it and you find bits have been taken out of it. Yeah, for spares, quite literally. So let's put that plastic in there. So that's why I checked it out, but it seemed to be complete, but obviously I don't think it's working as well as it could do. I did clean the ball. The ball comes out by sliding the little slider, and that the little roller that pushes the ball up against the two things there, but there is a lot of gunk on, I didn't see that, a lot of gunk on the actual rollers. So let's take it apart and we can see a little bit better inside. Now, I did notice that the push switches weren't that great. There's little bits of foam on the end of this, and I think they're probably squashed. The actual switches are okay. Just take that screw a bit further out. But I found that working a little bit better now than they were yesterday. Don't know. Anyway, the rollers themselves, let's bring the old close-up cam in here so you can see what we're doing. The rollers themselves here, the ball rolls against those rollers, and that in turn turns this wheel, which interrupts a photoopter coupler there, similarly there. So I think what we need to do is we just need to clean those rollers up. Probably the best way, a little bit of isopropyl on a cotton bud. So I can turn it around with my finger on the photo interrupter circle. Yeah, quite a bit of that coming off that one. Do the same for this one. Sorry if this is not in focus. This camera has an awful habit of just being awful to focus. I must get another alternative. It's a Logitech Brio. It's not meant really for this sort of work, but I noticed that Adam at Adamant IT, he used one, and I thought, oh, if he's using it, he's quite happy with it, but I don't think he does this much close up as I do. I don't, maybe, I don't know. Right, and the other thing we'll just do is we'll just get a bit of cloth on the ball. Just give it a little wipe over with isopropyl to get the grime off. Yeah, quite a bit coming off there. And instantly we pick up a bit of fluff off the bench. So we can see that that's moving forwards and sideways. I think we're okay there. Let's put the ball holder back. Oh, perhaps we ought to, yeah, just give that a bit of a clean as well. The ball does roll against that. Yeah. Clean the feet off as well. So they can slide nicely. I dare say that you could use a more modern optical mouse with this, with the right adapters or whatever. But for now, I'm quite happy with this to work the way it should do. If I ever did decide to sell this, it'd be nice to sell it with a original mouse. Right. Now, which one do we say was the mouse one? The inner one. This one. That's just right. And them on there. Okie dokie. Connect the mouse up. Now, it could be that the mouse wasn't working so well because of the connections. We'll find out in a minute. Basically, that switch that I repaired, I just used the spring from an old biro inside that. That did the job. Right, now, okay, in this box of discs that I bought, there was this one, which was ATARI Explorer. So I'm going to put that in there and see what happens with that on. Power on. Sounds like it's reading a disc. Let's try to. Yep. Hey, look at that. Now, mouse, are you going to move? No, you're not. Why is our mouse not moving? It did yesterday. Let's try it in the other socket, just in case. Okay, so mouse is not going to work, but Can we move things around? Is there a facility to move things? I would have thought I'd done something. This LED up there doesn't come on, so is that a caps lock or is it just basically locked out? I think it might have done. That's power, but that one doesn't show what that one is supposed to do. Let's just try a reset. That light comes on and goes off. Right, I saw the mouse pointer move that time. Okay, so the mouse is now working. It's not selecting anything. And that left mouse button is... What is up with this mouse? That left mouse button is like it's permanently pressed in. What's going on? Right, the screw was just a bit too tight on it. Ah, that's better. Okay, tell you what, we're going to do another reset. Might have got confused with that mouse button being pressed in all the time. Right, file. It's not selecting, it's just selecting by point. Alright, wonder if, is it the mouse or is it something else? I think I might want to just double check that the mouse connectors are working. So let's take the floppy disk out. At least we know the floppy disk is working. We're getting somewhere. But I'm just wondering whether this mouse has got more problems than we'd like to say. So let's power it all off. Now, it could be that one of the wires is broken, of course. So I think we need to definitely check that that's working, and we also need to check that the switches are actually connecting. Ah, now is that normal for the mouse wiring to be soldered? I would have thought that should have been a plug and socket. Looks like somebody, it's definitely a poor bit of soldering, whoever did that. Didn't notice that before. Let's have a look. Well, as bad as it is, all the soldering seems to be solid. What we need to do is to check that the continuity is good on that. Right, well, after a lot of messing about, I concluded that the original cable had more breaks in it than I could trace, so I decided to replace it completely. Couldn't find any flexible cable enough to be as flexible as this old cable. Didn't even have any old wired bits and pieces that I could take stuff from, so I've used the most flexible bit of Cat 5 cable I could find, because that's the only one I could find with 8 conductors in the cable. So I've completely rewired it to that socket there, and I've put a new D-sub connector on the other end. So let's fire up this beastie once again and see if it's going to work, if the mouse is actually going to track this time. I've left the disc in there so that it comes up when it boots on, or it boots, yeah, you know what I mean. And let's see if we can get the mouse to move properly. So the mouse is in the middle, so that should be up and down, and that should be left to right. Isn't it funny how, again, we've got this oddness about the way that the screen is over there, the floppy disks are over there, and we've got this funny coloured thing. I'm guessing this must be a well-known fault or something with these, but this mouse now seems to be working properly. Let's get the cursor over there, up to A, and click. I suppose I could put the ball back into it now. It should react to the ball properly. It doesn't like this pad that I'm on. Let's try it on a mouse, proper mouse pad. In fact, I don't think this mouse is particularly great, to be honest. Now let's click open. And there we are. So it's a disk labelled first word. Yeah, so if I hold my finger on this mouse ball whilst it's out of the chassis, it seems to work alright. Let me just show you what I'm doing there. So I'm basically holding onto the circuit board, putting my finger on there with the mouse, and all the time I'm doing that, the mouse seems to work alright. It just seems to be, it doesn't slide properly when it's there. It might, yeah, it's there, but it seems to be quite awkward to move. I don't know whether that's due to the actual quality of the mouse or the ball or something like that. I don't know, but it certainly seems to be not particularly brilliant when it's back in here. Yeah, so we'll see what it's like when I put it back in the housing, but I've put some heat shrink on these wires, so I just want to shrink them into place first before I start manoeuvring this wire back into a better place. And one thing I noticed is that using a standard DB9 connector, the plastic of this doesn't allow it to fit properly into the slot, so you just have to cut off this little lip. It's still held by the other side of this connector, or you may have a different connector, but if you use one of these, that little plastic lip that goes over the edge there stops it from going in properly. However, having done that, it now works 90%, but what I've discovered is, and if I switch it on and show you, it should load up this disc. This drive is a little bit problematic. I think it just doesn't, the disc doesn't sit in the drive properly, or some of them don't. It does load, so the mouse is working, but occasionally what will happen is the mouse will start gliding, and I've found that it's basically the connection under here isn't right. Now you can see, hopefully you can see on the monitor there, the mouse is moving while I'm moving this connector, Well, I've triple checked this and triple checked those pins. My only conclusion is that the socket on the underside of this board here, of the keyboard, has probably got some dry joints on there. So I'm going to have to take this board apart at some stage or other. I was hoping that in the post today I would get the replacement pushers that go in here. I think they've got to be replaced from the other side, so I've got to take this keyboard apart anyway. So that's what I'm going to do now, to see if I can do that, and it'll also give me a little bit of experience as to handling this keyboard when it's upside down and bits and pieces come out, because on the underside, as I understand it, I can't find a diagram, but I'm sure there is one, you've got the pusher on there, and underneath that is a little rubber cap, and that's got the contacts in it that makes pressure with the matrix that sits underneath. So chances are all of those are going to start flowing loose if I were to take it and to turn it over. So I'm going to have to be very careful in that respect. And also I've been warned that the plastic, like the cabinet, can be quite brittle, so I need to be careful about the screws. They all look to be the same size apart from this big one up here, so I'm just going to take that one off to start with. Funnily enough, it's relatively loose anyway. And that's a little frame. In fact, there's a third. No, isn't there? There's smaller screws. Let's have a look. There's that one and that one. They look different screws. Let's just have a little look. Yeah, no, they're the same. They're the same. So apart from those two holding that framework in, the rest of the screws all seem to be the same. So let's whiz those out. We'll fast forward this bit. Got 3 screws in this plastic cover. I'm just wondering if I can peel that plastic cover back, save cutting through it, enough to get at these screws. It looks like I can. I didn't really want to, it's quite thick plastic, it's there for a purpose, so rather than cut it, if I can peel it back to get these screws, then I'd rather do that. Just the 3, so that's good. So put my knife away again. One, 2, 3. Okay, oh, there's one more. Right, so being very gentle, let's go to the overhead camera. We'll just zoom in on this a little bit if we can. Okay, so being very careful with this board, I'm just gently lifting it up. And yes, sure enough, there's loads of rubber mounts. Interestingly, there's one here that's missing. What is that key? One there. We also got bits of fluff, etc. in here that shouldn't be in here. Another dead bug. Right, so which key is that? There's a key. This is the enter key here, and there's one key there where that never moved up and down, so I'm guessing that key has never had a plunger on it. So being very careful as to not lose those off position. I guess I can just probably put them all around the other way and make sure I've got enough, but let's just have a little look. Yeah, I can see, if I bring this other camera in, this is where the two mouse connections are on here. And you can just see on this pin here there's a big dry joint on there, so that's what's causing my mouse. The other one's got a dry joint on there as well, but I haven't used that, so I'm going to go over all of those connections because that's obviously half the cause of the problem with the mouse. It could well be that where I couldn't find the fault with this cable and had to replace it, I probably could go back and reuse that, but I've done this one now, so let's see if we can fix this with some soldering. I'm trying to be very careful if I can. Let's clean the top of that LED off on that one as well. Try not to knock that where possible. Let's get the old fan going. Pretty much all of these are dry jointed. I suppose if I'd have wiggled the plug about in the socket beforehand, it would have revealed itself a lot quicker. Saved me a lot of faffing about with the mouse cable. And there we are, another lesson learnt. Okie dokie. Right. Now dare I give it a little brief blast with Aeroduster, just to get rid of some of the dust. Oops. New one was going to go flying off. Right, that's as much as I'm going to do Aerodusting. Now is that one? Yeah, so there's one here as well that's not got a cap on. They all look to be in reasonably good condition, so now do these stay in place? Hopefully they do. Just realised that the bar on the space bar hadn't clipped into the clip. I hadn't clipped it in properly. Thought I had. Right, yeah, so two of them have come flying out, which is fair enough, and funnily enough they're the two broken ones, so that's okay. Let's just pull this space bar off again. Obviously when I put it back I didn't put that back exactly as I should have done in here. I thought I had, but come on. There we are. Okay, so we can pop that over the top of the board. Make sure none have moved. So, gripping it carefully, turning it over. Okay. All the keys seem to be in place. Let's get a few of these screws in. just to hold it in place. Remembering what was said on the forum about plastic being fragile, this plastic actually seems to be in quite good condition on this keyboard, so it hasn't really suffered from degradation. Right, I think I can do this in fast forward time. I'm doing it with a handheld screwdriver rather than an electric one, purely to make sure I don't accidentally over tighten it. If this now resolves the issue. Yeah, all the keys seem to be going down and returning. Plug the keyboard back in the PCB. Get it around the right way, make sure. Plug Mr. Mouse in. Mr. Mouse. I sound like explaining computers, don't I? Christopher. I love his post, but Mr. Scissors, yeah. Still, entertainment, isn't it? It's all entertainment. Okie dokie. That's in. Let's power it on. Lights are on. It's reading the disc. Squeaking but reading it. Yeah. And the mouse. Right. There we go. The mouse is now working perfectly. No movement, wiggles.